Okay, evening all on PlayChess.com, and I'll also be streaming this on Twitch as well. Okay, I've got a Tal game here. We've got a selection of Tal games from the 1966 Olympiad, which Tal scored over 90% actually. It was and we're at the time the Olympiad just started today actually, but with some of the top players in the world, they're missing at the moment from the current Olympiad. For example, Magnus Carlsen's not playing for Norway, and I don't think he's playing for India, or maybe they will play, I don't know, in a few games. But in today they didn't play. But going back to 1966, so Mikhail Tal playing for the Russian team, I think USSR team, and this is against Bolbochan, this first game. Julio Bolbochan. Is everything okay on Twitch, I hope? Board okay? And then we can start. So the first move from Mikhail Tal was e4. Bolbochan, Julio Bolbochan from Argentina, he played the Sicilian defense, c5. And then we saw knight f3, knight c6, and an open Sicilian now with d4. Okay, none of this bishop b5 stuff, which you might see today, anti-Sveshnikov line. Just an open Sicilian here. After c takes d4, knight takes d4, we see e6. Okay, which is black's intention is revealed now after knight c3 to play a Scheveningen pawn structure. So the pawns are quite flexible on d6 and e6. By the way, if on the PlayChess server, you might want to go to the openings book tab instead of the notation tab, just in case there's any guess the move quizzes later in these games. Okay, bishop e3 looks quite good, as though white might be considering, you know, something like this, castling queenside as an option. But after knight f6, bishop c4. Okay, bishop e7. And now queen e2. Oh, my good friend Chess Explained is watching on Twitch, an international master now, and he's got some connection issues, but it'll be interesting to hear some insights from him as well, which I'll highlight. I think this might be called Vladimir attack. I'm not really sure, but it looks aggressive anyway, so let's carry on. After castles, bishop b3. So white's still got the options now of castling either queenside or kingside. And after a6, we see the more exciting castling queenside. And of course, the rook on d1, we've got the d-file pressure on d6 to consider as well. But there's more to defend on the queenside, of course. Black plays now queen a5. And then we see king b1. After rook e8. This looks like a nice attacking position, and you might think, well, maybe a move like g4 could be useful. In fact, rook hg1 is played, keeping the tension a little bit longer. Is g4 actually going to be played? It is played now after bishop d7. So g4. And this is just really a very nice looking setup. If you look at both of the bishops, they're very nicely in the game here. I mean, this bishop's quite dangerous on this diagonal. If there's a e5, this bishop's dangerous on the diagonal. These pawns are going to wreak havoc maybe soon, or just decentralize some black pieces. Okay, knight takes d4 was played. Bishop takes d4. And now black puts more pressure on the centre with bishop c6. But then we get g5, which looks just so natural here, g5. After knight d7. So this is the first nifty, quite nifty looking attacking move at move 16. I wonder if I give you all a few seconds to consider what you'd play here. I'll give you 20 seconds, and then after that, you know, tell me your guesses. What does white play here to go for the attack, to increase like the resources against the black king? A very nice attacking move is played here. Anyone? Any ideas? G6 from Westcliff on the Play Chess server. G6, no, that wasn't played. Although it looks dangerous, it does look dangerous because you've got this diagonal. It would soften up or open up the G file. Actually, without committing a pawn sacrifice or anything, just Rook D3 actually. Rook D3. Wow, this queen and rook can be dangerous just on H7. If you notice, the knight has been driven away from the soft spot. So what is defending H7? Maybe you think the knight can go like that, but it's quite committal, isn't it? You've got a lot of resources being poured over the black king here, potentially. It's going to be dangerous. G6 is played, which at least stops Queen H5. But now just actually H4. Knight C5. And now a very surprising, perhaps, move is played from white here. Can you guess this next move? What does white play here? You might have thought the intention was Rook H3, but it's not Rook H3. That's a slight clue. If I give you, say, 15 seconds to guess the next move, starting from now. Anyone? Any ideas? Not many ideas? Continue with the attack with H5, VIP Master writes. No. Surely not. Surely you'd be losing the exchange if you played H5. Surely you'd move the rook here. No, actually Tal did play H5. He's offering the exchange. But black didn't take it. So what was black worried about? If knight takes d3, what happens here? I assume it's just queen takes d3. What about hg? If the knight doesn't have to be taken, hg might be dangerous as well, or not? It sort of gets a bit complicated here because there might be this move as well, threatening mate. But say e5, and then okay, you might think, well, it might be worth taking that knight. It didn't even happen, any of this. Of course, Tal could just casually he could just take this. I mean, he could just take the knight and just carry on with, you know, the attack like this. The queen can come here, the rook can come here, and you know, that's pretty dangerous. It's only an exchange here. It's only an exchange down. I think this is pretty dangerous, but I can't prove it. It just looks like it's peeling down the H file. So let's move on. For whatever reason, black decided to take the bishop to try and extinguish the white attacking resources. A takes, and now close up the position, which is logical. He's just taking the bishop on that diagonal, so that pawn's no longer pinned. Bishop's gone. Bishop e3, queen c7. And now we see bishop d2. Okay. Bishop d2 makes way maybe for the rook to come to h3. So rook ad8, rook h1. So the rooks can potentially double bishop f8. And now queen g4. Or are the resources going to treble here? b5, queen h4, doubling first. The knight is forced to move back, but it's an aggressive retreat maybe. The knight can come back to be dangerous here. If it was on g4, it would be threatening f6. In fact, after d5, knight e3 is played, offering the e4 pawn. So d takes e4. And you might ask, well, hang on, does white just take the rook? PlaySpree, sorry, yes, you can ask questions. Now here though, I want to ask you all, what does Mikhail Tal play in this position at move 27 without looking on the score sheet? So white to play here, what does white play? 15 seconds. Your white, what do you play here with the white pieces? Julio Bolbochan is the player with the black pieces, representing the Argentinian team. For those just joining now, white to play, so queen b7 is not an option. What does white play here? VIP master, right, stick with the plan knight g4. Okay, VIP master, are you sure you're not looking at the score sheet? hg6 is play spree, okay. Mode to go knight g4, okay. Knight g4 was played. Can we work this one out? It looks pretty dangerous, the check. It looks pretty terminal, really. You'd have to factor in d takes c2, I suppose king c1, and then the black king's getting mated. You know, even if the queen's protecting, it's still a mate with rook and knight, isn't it? So that would be pretty nice. Just peeling open the h file. You might think, hang on a sec, what about king g7? I doubt that makes any difference, just hg, and it's slaughter time. So okay, so knight g4 was played, and we saw f5 as the defensive try, and in this position knight f6 check was played, and now peeling open the h file, and the king decided to make a run for it here instead of the casual hg, which doesn't look too great. hg. In fact, if we look at hg here, I think I've just seen something almost pretty. That doesn't quite work, but I don't know. You know, something like this looks really dangerous because there's potential for rook h7s. In this position, though, the rook is hanging, so this doesn't work. Unless bishop b4, that might, I don't know, this doesn't look as though it's there must be something much clearer cut actually than this. On hg, maybe rook takes d8 first, or throw in the check still, and rook takes d8 here is probably really cool. Something, I don't know, it looks as though there should be a knockout blow here. There's also rook h6 on the cards, yeah, and then queen d2, it gets a bit queen h7 and rook h6. Okay, let's have a look at this in this position. So rook h6 immediately, mode to go. I'm going to say we take the rook. Queen g6. It looks pretty good. Winning the queen. That looks like devastation. No, well done, mode to go. That looks devastating. Rook h6. There's another line though. Hang on. King f8. There's bishop b4 check here again. We can make like this, can't we? Okay. Okay, so it's pretty gruesome. So okay, so the king made a run for it. King e6. So knight takes, attacking the queen. And now actually just g takes, threatening to queen. So black tried to defend against that. And now the rook swung across. And okay, white's technically material up. And does black have any compensation? Queen h5 attacking the rook and threatening queen g6. King moved. And now we saw a nice neat final move to the game actually. Can you guess what Mikhail Tal played here? If I give you 10 seconds or 15 seconds starting from now. Anyone? White to play here. What does white play here? Anyone? Guess? Not rook d1. No. Okay, I'll show you. Queen takes e8 check. Wow. So black actually resigned on this move. So let's see what would happen if takes. We queen. Say takes here. Well, white's just material up here if there's no bishop f7. So let's try and put in bishop f7. But we've got a resource here, haven't we? We just play rook takes f7 and still win the queen. So that's pretty crushing. And in fact, even stronger than taking the queen, there's bishop b4 as well. So what, white's just whole rook up, more than rook up. So it seemed like a very nice attacking game if we review it again. A system against the Sicilian. I think it's the Vladimir system. This looks like a Vladimir because the queen is on e2. Now I don't know if someone will correct me on that. Like Chess explained, is this the Vladimir system? The bishop goes to c4 and the white queen goes to e2. So it looks, the advantage of this, it seems with this setup, without the queen here, you don't have to worry about knight g4s for a start. Queen's on that. Supportive of g4. You can still castle queenside. It looks nice, it just looks nice. So rook hg1, not even committing with g4. And the intention is not so much to smash through with g6, which might be logical, but actually this rook lift just going for h7 is really dangerous. But black, created that reason to peel open with h4, h5 here by playing g6. You could imagine a defense with knight f8 probably failing actually. If queen h5, that's just too dangerous on the dark squares, isn't it? And you can imagine something like this that'd almost be queen h6 in some lines, or it could be really dangerous. But let's not get into that too much. g6 was tried, so white peels open the h file, sacks the exchange. The exchange sack isn't accepted, but black still had big difficulties on that h file. It seems like a clear-cut attack, but no, there's a bit of magic here. At each opportunity, there's a bit of magic shown that this knight's really dangerous now for coordinating on the h file. And this is just a crush now. It's a tactical crush. So the king, white's material up and then uses that h pawn. with decisive effect. So queen takes e8 was the final move. So I thought that was a neat game anyway. So let's go on to another game from the Olympiad. Okay. There's a bit of an involved one, more than there's about 44 mover. Let's have a look at this one anyway. 44 mover. Put the score sheets away. Okay, now in this game Mikhail's more positional, the opening is more positional. So knight f3, believe it or not, and now c4. So he doesn't stick that strictly to e4. So symmetrical English opening, total symmetry at the moment. d4, d5, still symmetrical. And now a3. Black releases the tension in the centre now with cd and plays bishop e7, and it looks as though we get a standard now isolated queen's pawn position. So the usual tasks for white, kind of use the pressure, maybe use the outpost squares for the knights, maybe sort of get pressure on h7 sometimes, maybe play d5 at some point. Black's task is to blockade the light squares usually. So we get this position with rook d1 now. The bishop's not moving yet anywhere. Rook d1 looks as though, you know, maybe even d5 might be on the cards, but not really. No, that's not the intention. The intention is shown now. Bishop a2. The bishop can join the queen on a battery potentially. Bishop g5. Again, you know, there's evidence of a soft spot here. Attack. Rook moves to d8. Queen e2. Okay, and it looks as though bishop e6 is something to factor in now for the black pieces all the time. But it's the light squares are blockaded up. It looks safe enough. Knight d5, just shutting down that bishop for a moment. White took, and it changes the structure significantly here. So what does white have now after queen d3? Well, the bishop's kind of blocked in by its own pawn. The rook's also blocked in, but white might have this e5 square still, and the e-file could be useful. Queen d6, white took on e7, and played rook e1 actually, so that e-file is useful here. Knight f4 as a threat is extinguished at the cost of creating some weaknesses. Okay, so these light square weaknesses, but the bishop's locked in at the moment. So does it matter? Rook e8, and now h4 actually. This is potentially dangerous, this h5 business, and it's used. H5. A couple of rooks come off, and now knight e5. So here with knight e5, you know, there's pressure on d5. I wonder if f4 and queen f3, you know, they could be useful maybe, or is that too weakening? Well, we'll see. Queen g5, no need for f4 actually, just queen f3 hitting d5 here, and also f7 of course. So we've got two targets immediately. f6. Now here's the first surprising move in this position. Can you guess what Mikhail played here against Brinck-Claussen? Bjoern, I can't pronounce his name actually. Bjoern from Denmark. Pardon me. So what does white play in this position? Can you guess if I give you 15 seconds starting from now? Okay. No one? Okay. Well, someone's mentioned knight d7. No, it's not knight d7, it's knight c4, using that pin on the bishop. Okay, so if takes, you would play check first, and then I guess you'd play check first, then take the bishop. Knight c4. Okay, so the game continues. bit of manoeuvring, rook e1, knight e3, putting more pressure on d5, rook c1, now h6, all of a sudden, what's this? Black takes the pawn, rook c7. There looks to be a threat after rook c7 of maybe rook takes f7 and bishop d5, potentially. The queen goes back, rook takes a7, knight g6, and now d5 drops after knight d5. Hang on, what's wrong with bishop d5? Sorry, someone mentioned what's wrong with bishop d5. Bishop d5 is not possible here, is it? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's not possible here, is it? More to go. He collects his a pawn instead, the a pawn. But in this position, actually, he plays knight takes d5 here. Whoa! Oh, sorry. Now I shouldn't have shown you that. Right? Because look, there are three protecting it. I just said, and there are three attacking it. So why is knight takes d5 possible? Why, oh why is it possible? Okay, bishop takes d5, and has white just blundered here? What does white play in this position if I give you 15 seconds? So white's just seemingly blundered a piece, maybe, to the casual observer. But white plays in this position. Can you guess if I give you 15 seconds? Yeah, this is some pyrotechnics, this game. Rook a8. I can't believe actually the visual pyrotechnics of the pins on this one and this one. A piece down, just rook a8. So one example why this would work. Rook takes. We can play bishop takes d5, or even just queen takes d5. And just go for this ending, and here we'd have a 2-to-1 pawn majority, and the bishop's controlling that nice diagonal. So white's a pawn up as well, so this should win that position. If bishop takes, then we've got rook takes d8 check, and this looks really quite dangerous. With say queen b7 check. Or not, maybe not. There could be stronger moves here. So let's have a look at this. Bishop takes a2. Is there something obvious? I assume we must play rook takes d8. In this position, does anyone see a good move here? You know, I wonder, instead of check queen c6 myself, queen c6 looks dangerous because, you know, queen e8. Queen c6. Does someone agree with queen c6? Anyone? What would you play in this position if I give you 10 seconds? I don't know. This is a side variation. No, this is actually the game variation. Pardon me. We're looking at the game variation. That would help discover why this works. He did actually play queen c6. Sorry, I wasn't looking at the score sheet. Honest. Queen c6. Yes, good move, queen c6. Better than queen b7. If we'd played queen b7, there's knight e7, and then what? Queen c6 immediately threatens queen e8 mating. Okay. And you might think, well, what about knight e7? That is played. Check. And in this position, now we see rook c8, celebrating this pin now, because we got rook c8 potentially. And also we got rook c3 potentially just to come back here where it's protected by this pawn to gang up on that knight, and in fact that's played rook c3, so a threat now of rook e3, check, check. Okay, now here, okay, it's still not clear materially, is it? Because it's just rook versus knight and bishop, and in theory sometimes the knight and bishop does well. a4 is played, which, what is the idea of a4? Well, we'll see. Knight d5, rook e1, and it looks now, okay, rook c1, so the king's been kept out of b5 at least with this pawn. And rook c1 then is emphasized because of a4. So queen d6, check, and now check here, and black resigned here. It looks as though this is now very nasty. For example, here we've got check, and unless the queen goes in front, we've got queen e8. So I think black must have blundered. Sorry. Black kind of had to resign there after queen c8. So did black blunder? If we just rewind here, after rook c3, this looks dangerous. You know, possibly there's a better defensive try, but it looks really dangerous because of this knight. So I don't know. This bishop's just out of the picture here in this position. So okay, that was very interesting. So let's have a look at that again, just in overview and summary. So from an English opening, we get an isolated queen pawn position where, okay, white is, by playing queen e2, Tal's not interested in this diagonal, by the way. He's not interested in that. He's keeping the pressure on e6 and prompting a change in pawn structure, which is fine, it seems. So he had different things now on the go. So d5 became a target. Then we saw this nifty knight c4 and this superb attacking tactical idea coming up. So h6 luring the queen away from d5, got rook c7 in, so he's already got his pawn back, and then sort of ultra shocking move, this ultra shocking move, knight takes d5, which I don't know what you guys think of this. This just looks visually impossible, doesn't it? Wouldn't everyone agree here? Knight takes d5 just looks impossible. It looks crazy, doesn't it? Is it just me? This is a bit of magic, I think. Tal magic. That this move is actually possible. I haven't engine checked any of these games, by the way, but it just looks amazing. Knight takes d5 to me, that this is possible. And it's followed up with rook a8. It's quite spectacular, I think. Okay, and then we get another king chase, and this a4 is instrumental in stopping the king, you know, coming to b5. And then we get another king chase, the final king chase, and that's it. Okay, let's have a look at another game then. So this is against Robert Byrne, one of the Byrne brothers, you know, where Fischer had his classic wins against the Byrne brothers. So they were playing for the USA team in 1966. So, and someone else, Byrne, so Robert decided to play the Sicilian as well, so they're all pretty gutsy against Mikhail Tal. And again we see d4 and open Sicilian. So now after knight c3 d6, and we see bishop g5, and here queen d2. White castles queenside. Black plays bishop d7, so he's delaying his kingside development on purpose. F4, and now he plays bishop e7. And the knight comes back to f3 here, which looks as though e5 might be dangerous now. b5. And white doubles the pawns. Of course, black doesn't really want to take back sometimes because the queen takes d6. He takes with the g pawn. Okay, and the pawns are kind of compressed a bit with f5. Black leaves that there. He doesn't want to create a gaping hole on d5 by, say, playing e5 or taking. He just leaves it. He plays queen a5. King b1. And now black castles. So has black gotten away with things? He's got the bishop pair on the bright side. His king doesn't look that bad. Okay, so we see g3 in this position. King b8. And now bishop h3. So what is going on here? What is this pressure on e6 about? One thing to note, I think, if say rook c8, I think we can see something going on. That knight d5 might be possible using the pin. Also, I don't know, but the queen, in some circumstances, bishop h3 could be useful. But bishop c8 is played. Rook he1. And now h5. Okay, queen e3, eyeing b6, bishop d7, going back. So what is this about? Why is black going back to d7? Knight e2, knight e5. And this looks as though, hang on, what about this knight c4? Is this dangerous? Knight f4, it's just left for knight c4 here. There's pressure on e6 now. Knight g4 blocking that diagonal. Queen e2. Okay. Is black solid here? Rook dg8, knight d4. Again, e6 being targeted. But isn't there an e5? I mean, there's no knight c6, right? Because of the bishop. e5 is maybe answerable with knight b3 though, kicking the queen, and then we're left with a gaping hole. So maybe queen b6, that's why queen b6 was played. Okay. And now surely here you might think, well, e5 is on the cards now. There's no tempo gain, is there, to kick the queen? But no, rook d2 inviting e5, and e5 is played. But of course we've got knight d5 attacking the queen. So why has black done this? Was it a blunder? Probably. It looks like a blunder here. Why would black want to play e5? But on the other hand, e6 is adequately defended, isn't it? There might be a tactical threat of knight takes h5 here and bishop takes g4. If we give black a move, say king a7, isn't there knight takes h5? Or not? I don't know, some sort of desperado, knight takes. No, knight takes is not possible. Why not pawn takes pawn for white? Yeah, why not just take on e6 here? Pardon me, just take on e6. Of course, you've got both knights on e6. See me? Sorry. You just take on e6. So that's why e5. Okay, e5 looks as though it's prompted. There doesn't seem to be any choice about it now. With both knights staring at e6, e5 is actually prompted. Okay. Okay, then the other question is, why didn't Mikhail take it in this position? Why did he play rook d2 here? So let's have a look at this here. In this position, isn't this possible? Has black got a fantastic resource here? Does anyone see a fantastic resource for black? I wonder, you know, bishop takes and knight f2 hits the rook and the bishop. So this might be a reason why in this position actually rook d2 was preferred, anticipating maybe knight f2's. Okay, so then we're still left with this question about e6 now. Okay, so that probably explains it. So e5 knight d5, and white's doing very well positionally. Knight b3, and look at these dark squares as well. These dark squares, these knights are a bit rampant. c4's starting to open the lines. Weakness of the last move there, and the knight can now pounce to a5, taking off the defender, and it looks horrible for black. This looks really like nightmare scenario with this huge knight on d5. C takes b5, and now rook d3 threatens rook b3, just skewering the queen. White takes on g4 now, which gives access of course to two squares for check the king. So check now, and now rook b3. So we've got so many pieces on the king side here, and look at these poor rooks over here, they look a bit silly. Total disaster for king safety. And a simple move now, just probing move, queen d3. What can black do about this pawn? He plays king a7, check again, playing with black a bit. And now, okay, the final move of the game. What did Mikhail play in this position which ended the game? Can anyone spot it if I give you 15 seconds starting from now? Anyone? Final move of the game. Can you spot it? Modsco suggested queen b6. That's interesting. It wasn't what was played, but it's interesting. It does threaten menacing things. So you'd be winning a piece here, wouldn't you? At least. But it wasn't. Maybe queen b6, you know, is winning. Maybe it is winning. But actually, even knight b6 might be winning. Actually, this looks like a position which is all over. Because how does actually black defend here? It looks all over with various move options. The one Tal chose is rook b6. I mean, any piece virtually to b6 just wins here. So black resigned here. It looks pretty hopeless as well. So that was interesting. Let's have a look at that game again. So this system with the bishop f6 gives black the bishop pair, and so we saw a systematic ganging up on e6 here. If you think about it, everything revolved around e6. You know, this setup here to eventually go like this and this, everything was on e6 pretty soon. Unpinning the knight basically away from that queen, and we get a tense position where immediately we saw that e5 here there was at least knight b3, unpleasant. So in here we saw this knight f2 was one of the ideas that was extinguished first. So we provoke e5, and then it seems black virtually collapsed in this position. The way Tal played, he just opens up some lines, he removes the defensive piece. The attack just was really just incredible, if you think about it. Okay, so let's go on to another game. So just going to put in another game. This was against Calvo, Minguez, Ricardo, Spain. So Tal white plays e4, and we saw another Sicilian, funny enough. So after knight f3 we saw knight c6 again. I don't know why everyone's playing this at the time. Maybe it was the height of popularity for knight c6, but the idea at this time wasn't for a Sveshnikov or anything, although knight f6 is another move which is one more step towards Sveshnikov. So a lot of players might play e5 today, Sveshnikov, but no, d6 was the intention. It seems the Scheveningen structure in that time was popular. So we saw bishop g5, e6, queen d2, bishop e7, white castles, queenside, castles, kingside, f4, and black volunteers the d5 square by playing e5. White plays knight f5, black takes, e takes. So what about these light squares? What about this bishop? Queen a5, king b1. Rook ad8. Looks as though black might be thinking of d5 at some point. Bishop c4 clamps down a bit more on d5. Now h6 looks slow, and white does exchange on f6 to keep control of d5 quite firmly here, and doesn't mind actually the exchange of queens. White plays knight d5, not minding the exchange of queens. He's also going to play an intermediary move here, knight takes f6, damaging black's pawn structure. And black takes on f4, which maybe is not the most solid. Is white better here? This pawn looks pretty dire on there if white's going to just double. Okay, so rook f1. And this ending, so why is it so clear for white? White takes on f4. Okay, the structure here is fairly miserable looking. The d5 control looks very nice for white. Bishop f3. Okay, rook d3, which looks as though, hang on, this is going to be useful, isn't it? Rook b3, and this bishop is pressurizing the queen side. Bishop d5. Okay, now h4. Rook f2, offering h-pawn for the f-pawn. Targeting now d6. And here actually he protects f5 for a moment. g3 and takes on d5. It looks as though black is going downhill now in this ending. Well, it did look bad earlier, but this looks worse maybe. Check. Rook g7. It looks a lot like a little bit of technique actually, endgame technique. He's creating now that passed f-pawn, and he uses it now with f6. And a simple final move actually, which I hope you can spot, is f7 here. Okay. I think that the point is of f7 winning. Black resigned here, so let's explore the point. Say black plays knight takes. Okay, you take here, and I think there's a winning move here. If we have this position, what does white play here if I give you 10 seconds starting from now? Or 15 seconds? Anyone? Yeah, rook e5 I think will be winning here. Just to queen the pawn. Pardon me. Okay, so so after f7 that was it. Black resigned here actually. Let's do a quick overview and summary of this one. So black got a kind of bad endgame position here, which Tal was happy to play the endgame here with the better structure, better pawn structure, and the bishop versus knight. So and actually it seemed like the f pawn was a winning thing here with that bishop. That bishop was very good here in guiding the pawn down. Okay, so let's have a look at another game. There's a 43 mover here against Johansson, Ingi Randva ISL country code. Okay, so d4 for Mikhail, so he plays d4 as well as e4. Okay, we get a Slav. Oh dear, oh dear. So what did Mikhail play against this Slav? Okay, knight c3, knight f6, e3. This line, knight f3, bishop d3. It looks simple enough for white to play this. Bishop b4 looks a bit odd, pinning the knight, but it's sort of probably playable. The bishop's going back to c7, it seems. Queen c2, h6. Bishop d2, rook e8, as though e5 might be on the cards, but white is first to break in the centre with e4. Takes the bishop off. Okay, knight f6, and now we see b6. So does white have anything from the position? He's got a bit of a bind on the e5 square and the e file potentially. He plays queen e3, putting more pressure on e5. And now queen e4, of course, threatening to come in with a check. Drives the knight back. And he has pinned that pawn. He plays b4, and now it looks as though c5 would lock out the bishop, which he proceeds to do, not minding about the d5 square here. He's got a nice knight on e5 now. So it looks as though black is being positionally slaughtered positionally. This isn't a typical Tal hack attack game. It just shows, you know, look at the passivity of the black pieces. They're all pretty passive, and white's piece is very harmonious in the centre here. Bishop f3 looks very neat. Okay, but there is the d5 square. Okay. Now a4, making progress with a4 with the queen supporting b4, so maybe something like b5, get this pawn going. Rook c7. Now h4 is played, restricting black on both sides. Rook b1. And here is an immediate tactical threat of queen takes e5. Sometimes, if the rook wasn't there, queen e5 rather. But the queen comes off there, queen f4, just in case. And more, you know, tactical threat on here with knight f7 or knight g6 now on the cards for that rook. So the rook moves off. Bishop e4, a bit of probing here. Doesn't mind playing g3. Now it looks as though rook f3 is a concrete threat on f7, or pinning the knight. A5 takes. Now in this position, white plays B5 using that pin on B7, and black actually takes. He takes, losing the bishop. He's getting another pawn here with rook takes C5. Okay, but is this enough, all these pawns, for the piece? G5 here looks creaky. Knight C6, hitting the rook. Winning a pawn now, but letting D4 drop. Knight C6 again. And in this position, we see bishop takes F5, and actually black felt compelled to resign here. So why does black resign? Sorry, back please. Okay, it was a bit of a complex maze, but can we just work out why black resigned, just to start off with? If e takes F5, this is move 44, if e takes F5, I assume check. And I assume rook d8. If black takes the knight, then I think this is slaughter time like this. Okay, so that looks as though, sorry, okay, where do you want to go back, Mo? Mo to go. It was complicated, but this breakthrough here, what does black play if he doesn't sack the bishop? You know, rook d4, you just play queen d4, I expect. You know, you've got the queen over there. It's not your typical Tal game, is it? Because it's not focused on the king side. It's these trump cards on the queen side, isn't it? And these games seem more natural to me than some of the previous sessions we've done on Tal, because I've taken them all as they were from a particular Olympiad, which Chess Explained mentioned to me. Tal did well in the Olympiads, so we're seeing, you know, a diversity of style in this set of games, with both e4 and d4 being played, and even c4. But this is great because it's queenside pressure. Shall we have a look how this queenside pressure emerged then again from the Slav? So it's how to beat the Slav defense, which is great as well. Just e3, and then we saw a break in the center, and it didn't seem as though there was that much to play on, but actually there is. It seems this bishop can be a target to block it in, and he's basically like rerouting eventually his pieces to support b5 against that bishop. If you look at this again in retrospect, so b5 is the plan, being prepared slowly. With the center kind of made safe, and this nasty pin now, and then eventually now b5 here. So if b5 was played in this position, there would be b takes, wouldn't there, on that pin. So a5 was good for again to knock out this pawn, making b5 even more effective without b takes c5 from black. So going a piece down wasn't great, and the king safety comes in after this. Black resigned in this position. Okay. Right. Shall we have a look? Seems to be quite a few of you about. Shall we carry on looking at the games of white, or I thought it would be nice to sort of oh, stop. Do you mean stop as in no more games, or there's quite a few games from this Olympiad actually. It's probably quite a very ambitious task to have a look at the games with white from this Olympiad, but I think I'd like to, if possible. I've got an energy boost because I've been having some during the 15-second break some cookie dough ice cream actually, so I think I'm more sugared up than usual. So if you want, I can go on to another game. So this is like raw Tal without much game selection. There's just games from the Olympiad as they come. You know, it's not like Tal's most brilliant games or something from different years. This is just from one Olympiad, but they do seem to have brilliance in their own right, as though maybe they were taken from a brilliant game collection. But okay, let's have a look at this one. Menvial Lacuro Augusto, Spain. Let's have a look at this game. So c4 c5, Mikhail playing white, playing with the English opening, and then an early d4 here, e4, Roxy bind type position. Okay, so bishop e2, an early check, looks a bit weird. Both sides castle, knight b3. Now f4, so white's got that bind on d5, and maybe the bishop can come to f3. Looks dangerous. Now a3 was played here. Black's also weakened, of course, the b5 square as well by playing a5. King h1, a4, and the knight returns to d4 now. And black's king is slightly weakened now after knight takes, and the bishops come off. Check. And it looks pleasant now because, you know, this knight can come here or here. f5 looks pleasant. All sorts of things really. Queen a5, knight d5, immediately threatening, of course, the pawn. Rook e8. So f5 just looks so natural. White's attack here. Black seems to have really misplayed this because it looks just so easy, this attack. Knight b3. Queen e3. Yes, want to get onto the dark squares here. Maybe. King g7. Okay, queen f4 will do here. So now there's an immediate threat of, well, maybe f6 or fg. It all looks pretty dangerous. f6 is played, and so we have fg. And a bruising move now is played, really a bruising move. So what does white play in this position? Can you spot it if I give you 15 seconds starting from now? Anyone? Knight e7 looks strong actually. Knight e7 does look strong, or knight f6 was played, but knight e7 looks pretty good as well. Yeah, it's probably, the position is so strong, it's probably more than one way of skinning the cat here. But knight f6 is pleasing. Let's have a look at the game continuation. E takes check, and in this position, what does white play here to finish off? Sorry, that wasn't the final move of the game. So in this position, what does white play here? White to play and win. White to play and win in this position. What's the final move of the game? 15 seconds, starting from now. Yeah, I think someone's correctly guessed rook d5. So not only hitting the queen, but if the queen moves anywhere, then what have we got in this position to mate? Spot a very good move here. I hope you can all see the move. If I give you 15 seconds, you can all start shouting the final move, if this had been the case, this position. Come on guys, you can spot this final move. It's a mate in one. Come on, mate in one alert. Mate in one alert. That's the clue. Yeah. Okay. Now that attack shouldn't have been that easy. That's really naughty that this was so easy. Let's have a look at it again. So it started with a Moxie bind. And why was it so easy? That's the big question, the mystery of this. Black really didn't help his king's safety with getting rid of this bishop. Sometimes is very dangerous. He might have been thinking of dark square control or something, but it's just so dismal already. Oh, is anyone else lagging? Sorry, is there some lag on Play Chess? I'm sorry if there is. I can't do anything about it. I don't know what to do about it. So, okay, Queen F4. It was just so dangerous here already. Okay. Black must have misplayed that quite severely. That whole plan from Black was misplayed for this attack. To evolve like that. Motico says, oh, not here. Okay, so I'm hoping it's okay generally. So let's look at another game. Actually, this is the final game of my selection, because actually the reason for that is this is the last game as white for this Olympiad, which was a win for him. Oh, sorry, I gave away the game. Sorry about that. Sorry. Oh dear, I've spoiled the game result. I hope you don't mind. Okay, so Tal playing white, he played e4, and then we see e5 from Livero Alfredo. URU, Uruguay or something. URU is the country code. Okay, so Roy Lopez. And okay, rook e1, and it looks like standard Roy Lopez kind of stuff so far. d4, which is basically a pawn sack here. This d4, it's a pawn sack. Black accepts it. He plays e takes d4 here. So why is white sacking a pawn? Queen g3, he's got compensation. And black decided to play king f8 here. If why did he play king f8? If he castles, is it so bad? Can anyone see a win here if black castled? I do have Skype. Maybe I should have turned that off before the broadcast. Sorry. Would that interfere? Maybe. If bishop h6, you know, haven't we just got knight h5 for black? Well, there's queen g4, isn't there? Queen g4. Yeah. Okay, so king f8 was played, so that's probably why. Queen d3 now, and black definitely is a pawn up, but white has got a very nice bishop. The king's misplaced. Okay, queen e2, c5, bishop e3, b4, and white goes into that d5 square. The very, very comfortable aspect of many of these wins with white, I don't know about you guys, is the nice central control of d5 in many of the games. And here it's no different. This central control is a great starting point for these attacks. And look at the rooks, how harmonious and pleasant they are in the center. How neat white's position is aesthetically. And black plays an ugly looking move here now. g5. Sorry, I don't know why I'm laughing. Sorry, g5. Okay, g5. Okay, no. It's okay. Queen h5 now, just going into the big hole here, which it can't be evicted or anything. So okay, big problems for black. You know, things like queen h6 as well. So bishop f6 was played here, and now we see f4, which looks fairly logical. G takes. And a surprising looking move here. I think most of us in this position surely would be playing bishop takes f4 here. But actually, Tal didn't play that. Can you guess what he played in this position? If I give you 15 seconds starting from now. Actually, I'm not really sure I get it as well. I think I might need help with this one. You're not guessing it. None of you are guessing it anyway. No, it's not rook f1. It's not bishop c5. There's bishop e4 is an illegal move. What do you mean bishop e4? Pawns on e4. White play. It's not queen h6. Nope, it's not queen h6. I don't know if I've got a misprint here or something. I'm not really sure. Maybe we've got an incorrect score sheet here. On the score sheet I've got, it indicates as though bishop takes f7 was played. Isn't that odd? Surely this doesn't work. And we see rook g8. I mean, there's options like rook takes f7 here. So this might be a damaged score sheet, I'm afraid. Unless this really works, I can't see it working. Oh dear. I have to check up on this one, because I can't see anything after rook takes f7. So maybe, you know, it looks as though bishop f4 is just easy to get into h6. The game score I've got is rook g8, mysterious, rook f1, rook g6, queen h7, end of game. I think we should ignore this game. I apologise for this game. I should have been more critical about this score sheet. I wasn't going to really play all these games. I wasn't intending to. And it looks as though this one's been messed up. I'll try and get the correct game score sheet for next week for this game. Sorry about that. Okay, but I hope you've enjoyed the broadcast overall. And see you next week. And thanks very much. comments or questions on YouTube when I upload it to YouTube. Thanks very much.